Robinson Cano, Josh Donaldson, Eric Hosmer, Manny Machado, Mike Trout, Mark Trumbo. You have great players, but I don't think it could compete hitting-wise with the National League, and I think this is the year where the National League gets snaps that 3-game losing streak in the All-Star game. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about my final topic here. One of the best players of all time retired today. And, of course, we're talking about Tim Duncan. Where would he go on the all-time list? And we'll talk about that in a minute. Tom, do you have anything for final topic yet?
Well, there is a huge epidemic going on right now that I need to discuss with everybody who actually listens to this radio show, and it's called Pokemon Go. So I'll be talking about that in my final topic.
Perfect. All right. Pokemon Go, Tim Duncan. Stay tuned because that's going to be a sick segment. Here is Changing Me, Bobby Green, Sean Michael Murray on the Spicy Sports Show with Sam Cerrone and Tom Crane on Spreaker Radio.
Black cars take me far, but don't take me
And welcome back to the Spicy Sports Show with Sam Cerrone and Tom Crane, coming to you live from Portland, Oregon and Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's about 5:02 here, so about a little bit past 8 on the East Coast, so that means the Home Run Derby started. You can check it out. Just started about 2 minutes ago. Check it out on ESPN. Pretty awesome. So, without further ado, our final topics of the day. Today, one of the greatest power forwards, if not the greatest power forward of all time, retired today, Tim Duncan. Let me just give you his resume. The number 1 overall pick in 1997, drafted by the San Antonio Spurs. 2-time MVP, 3-time Finals MVP, 15-time All-Star, 15-time All-NBA selection, 15-time All-Defensive selection, Rookie of the Year, 5 championships, career averages of 19, 10, 2 blocks, and 50% from the field. Comments? The ultimate franchise player. For a market in San Antonio that, again, isn't that big overall, it's a mid-market. In each of his 19 seasons, he always made the playoffs. That's ridiculous to think about that. 19 seasons, made the playoffs every single year. Others compare him as this generation's Bill Russell, the most consistent player in basketball. Fundamentals, consistency, and quiet excellence, and winning above all else. Jay Adande from ESPN.com said the only all-time great talent whose talent might be secondary to his temperament. His team-oriented attitude produced the longest run of sustained success the NBA has ever seen. And then Kevin Pelton of the ESPN Insider said, at this point, I wonder if calling Duncan the greatest power forward ever almost does him a disservice. His resume stands with nearly any of the great big men of all time, power forwards and centers. So then I was looking at the all-time list, what ESPN has, and does it sound right? For me, yeah. They have him at number 8. I would probably put him at 7. They have LeBron James at 3, which I think is a little bit ridiculous. I think it's too much in the moment. For me, if I'm going to rank this right now, I have LeBron James at 6. I do have him, my top 5 here. Michael, Kareem, Magic, Wilt, and Larry Bird. I still haven't put LeBron James above him yet because of the losses in the NBA Finals. And people are saying, it's not his fault because they lost. Look, you give him the credit when they win, you should give him the blame when they lose. That's as simple as that for me. So I do have LeBron James at 6, but Tim Duncan, you could put him higher, honestly. You could put him above LeBron if you wanted to right now because of the rings. 5 rings, that's impressive. And even beating LeBron James twice head-to-head. Granted, that first time in 2007 was pretty much nothing. LeBron James's Cavaliers didn't have a chance. He dragged that team to the finals. Granted, number 1. But that second time, or 2 out of 3, sorry, that one, where Ray Allen made that shot, obviously, brought LeBron James his first title. But that second time was pretty crazy. The rematch, that team was just on fire. Tim Duncan was great, voted MVP again. I don't think there's ever been a player like that's been so quiet and yet so dominant. Since Bill Russell. And I didn't watch Bill Russell. Just watch some, black and white, old NBA tapes and check it out. But what Tim Duncan's done, number 1 overall, over the past 19 seasons, 2 decades. It's pretty insane to think about that. He's just produced year in, year out, and has always been team-oriented. I think that's what's lost in this age's NBA. I think at one point in the NBA, about 2003, 2004, he was the highest paid player in the NBA. Then he started taking pay cuts to bring in other players, other key components that would bring the Spurs success. I.e. Manu Ginobili, i.e. Robert Horry, who's arguably the greatest clutch shooter of all time in postseason history. Bringing in a Kawhi Leonard, or drafting a Kawhi Leonard, which is, again, great organization drafting-wise, bringing in a LaMarcus Aldridge, bringing in a Boris Diaw, who was really terrible in Charlotte, but, you give him with a great organization and surround him with talent, such as a Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, and look what happens. He becomes a great player. Even David West signed there last season for a 1-year deal. He took the minimum. He left about $13 million on the table in Indiana to come over to the Spurs because that's how dedicated that organization is to winning and how much they love Tim Duncan. He opted in to the contract, but he's going to retire. And for me, yes, he's the greatest power forward of all time. There's no question about it. I just think his resume stacks among the greatest, even big men. I mean, you can stack it against Kareem, you can stack it against Bill Russell, Shaq, Hakeem, and he stands above them all, or at least can compete with them in that sense. So kudos to Tim Duncan. Congratulations on a great career and nothing but success moving forward. So without further ado, we're going to switch it over to Tom, who's going to talk about the most fun and yet dangerous app you have available. So Tom, take it away.
All right. Well, first off, I want to just say, Tim Duncan, I applaud you for everything you've done for the Spurs organization and everything. Class acts right there. But now it's time for my segment, Pokemon Go. So, if you haven't heard already, Pokemon Go is a free-to-play game that basically is a GPS tracking device, which keeps you fit, walking around trying to search for augmented reality Pokemon from like the first series back in '96. It's spreading across the world, records are being broken with the app, and shares of Nintendo are rising. They were a little low, especially with the current Pokemon games that were coming out. I did some research, I have not played them. But this means stupidity does not go unnoticed when it comes to this app. Police in New Jersey have issued a public service announcement about not driving and catching Pokemon. While using this device, you can go across the road like you're running and everything, and then Pokemon will pop up out of nowhere. You tap the screen, you try and catch it with a Pokeball, with a flick of your thumb. And you might catch it, or you could crash into somebody. So, the New Jersey police wish to remind you, don't use your cell phone to catch Pokemon while you're driving. Some other issues have arisen with businesses being disrupted by people wandering into offices and backyards just to catch an invisible Pokemon. Some people thinking that these people are crazy, but they just want a Jigglypuff. That's it. Now, on the plus side, kids are being active. They're running around, trying to find these invisible creatures, just like making friends with imaginary people. But they're also tripping over rocks, falling into lakes, and going into highways. So recently, some memes have been popping up. One of the most famous ones is an Oddish, which is a little sprout-looking creature in between a fireball bottle and what looks like to be another whiskey bottle. Yes, they pop up out of nowhere, and they can be between anything, which is hilarious. And with that, Twitter has actually gone on rants as well. This one is from Morgan Hart. Pokemon Go got more kids to do exercise in 24 hours than Michelle Obama did in 8 years.
I did see that one.
So they are pretty much just ripping people apart with this Pokemon Go app.
Yeah.
And the worst part that I just read a couple of days ago, catching Pokemon might be a little dangerous, especially when it comes to going to a river to find, unfortunately, this is sad, a dead person lying in the river when you were just trying to catch a Pokemon. It's good finding random things, but that's just too miserable. In Missouri, 4 teens were arrested for allegedly taking advantage of Pokestops to rob players in real life. That's
Team Rocket-esque.
Yeah.
It's not funny, but it's kind of funny.
It is. So
man.
when it comes to Pokemon Go, be smart with your app. It's going to waste a lot of battery power and data. Make sure that you don't go over your parents' account and they find a huge bill waiting for them.
Yeah.